No one was supposed to be awake in the deep space sensor room at this hour. The station usually listened to silence, endless dark, and slow stars drifting apart. But on this cycle, the alarm screamed. Technician Arvik froze as red symbols filled the screens. Energy spikes appeared far beyond known travel lanes. At first, he thought the system was broken. Then the numbers kept rising. "This is impossible," he whispered. The signal was too strong, too clean, and moving too fast. Within minutes, senior analysts rushed in, commanders, scientists, and military officers filled the room. Every screen showed the same thing: a massive object moving through deep space, not drifting, not exploring, advancing. The object had no transponder, no trade beacon, no diplomatic identification. That alone caused panic. In the Galactic Union, even pirates announced themselves. Only one kind of ship traveled without warning, and those ships usually belonged to myths. The object was enormous, larger than any battleship the Union had ever built. Its energy output suggested weapons already powered, not charging, already ready. "Scan for origin," ordered High Commander Sareth. The scanners struggled. The hull was layered with unknown alloys, absorbing most detection waves, but fragments of data slipped through. A symbol appeared on one screen, old, scratched, and nearly forgotten. Several officers went silent. Sareth leaned closer, his voice lowered. "Is that human?" No one answered immediately. The room felt colder. Humans were not active members of the Galactic Union. They had arrived centuries ago, survived a few conflicts, then vanished beyond mapped space. Most believed they had gone extinct, or chosen isolation, but the symbol was unmistakable. Angular lines, sharp edges, a design shaped by war, not art. A historian officer pulled up archived records. Most were damaged or sealed, but one warning stood out, repeated in multiple languages: if detected, do not engage. If approaching, evacuate. If human warship identified, assume hostile intent is not personal. The words made no sense. How could hostility not be personal? The ship continued forward, not fast, not slow, purposeful. Nearby systems began emergency evacuations. Civilian fleets jumped away in chaos. Military groups requested orders that never came. Sareth stared at the projection. "That ship is not scouting," he said. "It is not patrolling. It is moving like it already knows where it is going." Another alarm sounded. The sensors detected weapon arrays rotating, not aiming at the Union fleet, not targeting planets. They were tracking something else, something invisible. "Are we being attacked?" Someone asked. "No," replied the sensor chief, voice shaking. "It's worse." What could be worse than a human warship? The chief swallowed. "It's behaving like we are already late." The room fell silent again. Every officer felt it, a strange fear, not of being targeted, but of being irrelevant. Suddenly, the human ship slowed. Its massive engines dimmed, but the weapons remained active. A transmission request appeared, single channel, encrypted with ancient protocols. "Put it on," Sareth ordered. The screen flickered. Static filled the air. Then a calm human voice spoke. "This is Warship Gravebound. We are not entering Union space. We are passing through." The tone was flat, emotionless. No greeting, no threat. Sareth leaned forward. "This is High Commander Sareth of the Galactic Union. You are triggering evacuation protocols. State your intent." There was a pause, long enough to feel deliberate. Then the human voice returned. "Our intent does not concern you. Your survival does." Murmurs spread through the room. "What does that mean?" demanded an officer. The reply came instantly. "You have detected us. That means the timer has already started." Before anyone could respond, the channel closed. New data flooded the sensors. A distortion appeared far from the Union fleets. Space itself bent and twisted. Something massive was hiding there. Sereth's eyes widened. "That's not a ship," he said. "That's a breach." The human warship turned, all weapons aligning toward the distortion. Its engines flared brighter than before. Only then did the Union commanders understand the humans were not arriving to negotiate, they were not coming to threaten. They were responding to a danger no one else had survived long enough to warn about. As the Gravebound accelerated toward the unknown threat, Sereth whispered the words written in the ancient archives, now finally understood. When humans deploy warships, the war has already begun, and this time the galaxy had heard the signal too late. The command chamber stayed silent after the human warship changed course. No one spoke for several long moments. Every officer watched the projection of twisted space where the breach was forming. High Commander Sereth finally straightened his posture. "Pull every historical record on humanity," he ordered. Military, civilian, classified, everything. The archivists moved fast. Old data cores were unlocked. Dusty memory banks lit up for the first time in centuries. Most records were incomplete. Entire wars were summarized in a few broken lines. Human encounters were always marked the same way. Unresolved, a senior analyst began reading aloud. Humans originated from a Class 12 deathworld. Extreme gravity, unstable climate, constant natural disasters. Predators present on land, sea, and air. Several officers exchanged uneasy looks. Even trained soldiers struggled on Class 7 worlds. Another record appeared. Human society evolved through continuous conflict. War was not an exception. It was preparation. Sereth felt a slow tightening in his chest. "These are not explorers," he said quietly. "These are survivors." More files opened. Old battle footage flickered across the screens. Human ships moved differently than Union fleets. They did not form defensive patterns. They pushed forward even while damaged. One clip showed a human cruiser with half its hull torn open. Still firing, still advancing. The historian paused the recording. This battle ended with total enemy collapse. The humans did not pursue. They left immediately. "Why?" asked a young officer. The historian answered slowly, "Because their objective was complete." Another warning flashed on the archive display, repeated again and again across different eras. Humans do not fight for territory. They fight to remove threats. Sereth turned back toward the live sensor feed. The warship Gravebound was accelerating toward the breach. Its course was precise, calculated. They knew exactly where it would appear, he said. Meanwhile, panic spread beyond the command chamber. News of the human warship reached civilian networks. Entire worlds went dark. Trade lanes shut down. Religious groups declared omens and endings. Military fleets gathered at safe distances. Weapons armed, but commanders hesitated. No one wanted to be the one who fired first. An emergency council session was called. Leaders from dozens of species appeared as holograms. Fear showed clearly on many faces. "Why were we not warned?" demanded a council member. "Why are humans here now?" Sereth spoke calmly. "Because something worse is coming." The breach on the sensor screen grew larger. Energy readings climbed beyond known scales. The laws of physics bent like weak metal. A scientist leaned forward, voice shaking. "That breach matches no natural phenomenon. It resembles artificial space tearing. Can it be closed?" Someone asked. The scientists shook their head. "Not with our technology." Silence followed. Then a bitter realization settled across the council. They were watching forces far beyond their control. Suddenly, a new signal appeared, not from the human warship, but from the breach itself. The signal was old, ancient, hostile. Several commanders felt instinctive fear, not learned, but primal. Sereth whispered, "That is what the humans came for." As if in response, the Gravebound transmitted again. This time to all Union channels, no encryption, no formality. "Attention Galactic Union. The human voice said, "Remain clear of the combat zone. Do not attempt engagement," a council member shouted. "You cannot fight that alone." The reply was immediate. "We are not alone." Sensor data exploded across the screens. Smaller human vessels dropped out of folded space. Not fleets, not formations, hunters. Each ship carried heavy scars, marks of past battles, none of them slowed. Fear shifted into something else, understanding. "These ships," an analyst said softly, "they are veterans." Sareth watched as the humans positioned themselves, blocking the breach, standing between the unknown threat and the Union worlds. Only then did the truth become clear. The humans were not defending their own space. They were defending everyone else's. As the first shapes began to emerge from the breach, dark and massive, Sareth felt a deep chill. He realized the old records were not warnings. They were apologies because the galaxy had forgotten the reason humans were feared. And now they were about to remember. The first shape pushed through the breach like a wound tearing wider. Space screamed as reality bent around it. The object was not built like any ship the Galactic Union recognized. It had no smooth hull, no clear engines, only jagged structures that shifted as if alive. Sensors struggled to lock on. Data returned in broken fragments. Mass without gravity, movement without thrust. The Union fleets pulled back even farther. Commanders knew instinctively that this was not an enemy meant to be faced head-on. High Commander Sareth watched in silence. His hands were clenched. "This is what we never named," he said. "The thing we erased from records because we did not survive it long enough to study it." The human ships did not retreat. They advanced. The Gravebound moved first. Its massive hull slid forward with heavy purpose. Weapon ports opened along its sides. Not all at once, only what was needed. A Union officer whispered, "They are measuring it." Suddenly, the unknown entity reacted. Space rippled outward. A wave of force slammed into the nearest human escort ship. Its shields collapsed instantly. The hull cracked. Fire spilled into vacuum. The ship did not fall back. It corrected its course and kept moving. Sareth felt a strange tightness in his chest. Why would they continue? An analyst answered quietly, "Because retreat was never part of the plan." The Gravebound transmitted again. This time on all open channels, its voice was steady, unshaken. "Breach entity confirmed. Classification unchanged. Containment protocol active. Containment." The word echoed across the command chamber. A council member shouted, "Containment? You cannot contain something like that." The reply was simple. "We can," the unknown entity expanded. More fragments pushed through the breach, like limbs testing the water. Then it spoke, not in sound, but in pressure. Every sentient mind felt it at once. Returned to silence, several officers collapsed. Blood trickled from sensitive auditory organs. Fear turned into pain. The human ships did not react. Their formations held, their weapons charged. How are they resisting it? A scientist asked. "That signal should shatter neural pathways." A technician stared at the data. "Human minds," he stammered. "They evolved under constant stress. Pain tolerance levels are extreme." The Gravebound fired. Not a beam, not a missile, but a focused distortion. A weapon designed to tear at the same layers of space the breach used. The unknown entity recoiled. Space rippled violently. The breach flickered. For the first time, the enemy reacted with confusion. Sareth leaned forward. "They have fought this before." Another human message cut through the chaos, short and direct. "This is your only warning. Withdraw from this region." The entity responded instantly. Its presence swelled, defiant. "We have consumed stars," a junior officer whispered. "How do you threaten something like that?" The answer came in action. Human ships surged forward. Not waiting for permission, not forming lines. They split into attack vectors, each ship targeting a different instability point in the entity's structure. Explosions rippled across folded space, reality screamed again. The breach shuddered, the entity struck back. A wave of nothingness erased a section of space. One human ship vanished completely. No debris, no signal. Sareth closed his eyes. "They're dying," he said. For us, the Gravebound did not pause. Its engines burned hotter. Pushing deeper toward the heart of the breach, another transmission followed, this one quieter, almost human. "To all Union forces, stay back. This is not your war." The meaning hit hard. The humans were not asking for help. They were protecting the galaxy from itself as the battle intensified. Sareth finally understood the truth hidden in the old records. Humans did not negotiate with threats like this. They did not warn civilizations until it was almost too late. Because when something reached Union space, it meant humanity had already failed to stop it earlier, and now, they were making sure that failure would not happen again. The battle did not look like war. There were no clean lines. No formations the Union could understand, only controlled chaos. The human ships moved as if they shared one mind. Each action precise, each sacrifice measured. The unknown entity twisted and folded space, its massive form spreading wider, trying to overwhelm the humans with size alone. Union weapons fired from a safe distance, beams vanished into nothing. Missiles lost guidance and drifted away uselessly. "They can't hurt it," a Union admiral whispered. The humans did not waste shots. Every weapon strike targeted a specific distortion, a weakness only visible through complex predictive models. The Gravebound took the center position, its hull glowing from internal heat. Shields flared and failed, then reformed again. A direct impact tore through its outer armor. Debris scattered across space. Sareth felt his breath catch. They're going to lose their flagship, but the ship kept moving. Damage teams sealed breaches in seconds. Human voices remained calm, professional. Structural loss acceptable. Core integrity stable. The unknown entity screamed again. Not in sound, but in raw pressure, you resist futility. Several Union officers collapsed once more. Medical teams rushed in. The human response was immediate. A synchronized strike from every remaining ship. Space folded inward. The breach began to shrink. Reality fought back against itself. One human vessel rammed forward, its engines burning beyond safe limits. Straight into the densest part of the entity. Why would they do that? Someone cried. A quiet Union scientist answered. Because humans value outcome over survival, the ramming ship detonated, not an explosion of fire, but of collapsing space. The entity convulsed. Large sections of its form dissolved into nothing. The breach destabilized violently. Alarm screamed across Union systems. Energy spikes reached catastrophic levels. "This will tear the system apart," Sareth shouted. The Gravebound pushed forward again. All remaining power diverted to its forward array. A final human transmission cut through the noise. "This is why we do not negotiate. Negotiation assumes shared values," the ship fired. A concentrated strike aimed at the breach itself. Not the entity. Space collapsed inward. The breach screamed as it sealed, trapping what remained of the entity on the other side. For a brief moment, everything went silent. Then the shock wave hit. Union ships were thrown off course. Systems failed. Screens went dark. When the sensors finally cleared, the breach was gone. The enemy was gone. Only drifting wreckage remained, human wreckage. The Gravebound floated motionless. Hull torn, power minimal. Sareth's heart sank. "Signal it," he ordered. "See if anyone survived." Seconds passed. Then a weak transmission responded. "Gravebound operational. Mission success confirmed." Relief spread through the command chamber, mixed with something heavier. The humans had won, but at a terrible cost. As recovery operations began, Union leaders finally understood. Humans did not negotiate because some threats could not be reasoned with. They could only be stopped, and humans were willing to pay the price no one else would. The battlefield was quiet, not the calm of peace, but the stillness that follows survival. Wreckage drifted where the breach once existed, twisted metal, broken hulls, and fragments of ships that had never tried to escape. Union recovery fleets moved in slowly, careful, respectful. They did not rush the human vessels. No one wanted to disturb something sacred. The Gravebound remained nearly motionless, its once smooth hull scarred and blackened. Emergency lights flickered across its surface. High Commander Sareth watched from the command deck. He felt smaller than he ever had before. A weak transmission opened, not encrypted, not guarded. "This is Captain Hawley of the Gravebound. Our systems are stable. We will remain until residual threats decay," Sareth swallowed. "On behalf of the Galactic Union," he said, "we owe you everything." There was a pause, then the human replied calmly, "You owe us nothing. This is why we exist." Union medical ships offered assistance. The response was polite but firm. "Human crews will handle recovery." As the hours passed, human vessels gathered their wounded, salvaged what they could, and prepared to leave. They did not wait for praise. They did not request alliances. News spread across the galaxy. Worlds that had never seen war learned its true cost. History channels replayed censor footage again and again. The phrase began appearing in every language. "When humans arrive, the war is already over." Archivists rewrote old records. Humanity was no longer listed as unknown or retired. They were reclassified as guardians of containment. Before departing, the Gravebound sent one final message. Broadcast across all Union space. Threat neutralized. Breach sealed. Remain vigilant. Then the human ships folded space and vanished. Leaving behind silence, Sareth stood alone in the chamber long after. He looked at the empty starfield. The galaxy had survived not because it was strong, but because someone stronger chose to stand in front of it. And somewhere beyond known space, human warships continued their endless patrol, fighting wars no one would ever see, so that the rest of the galaxy could live in peace.